What's on people share here, uneven about topic guys as well. So I'm just doing this video now really off the cuff. I was just on the Cricket Retires magazine, so I had a lot of chat about Faf Du Plessis announced his retirement from Test cricket today. I just wanted to get into a little bit more, talk about a few things on and off the field. So if you look at his stats here, in terms of Test cricket, 63 runs scored, an average just over 40.02. So look at that and think, okay, from a playing perspective, I think it's important to kind of strip away the sentimentality. He did well, but he wasn't a great player by any stretch of imagination. Yes, he played great knocks, but there's a lot of failures in between as well. Now, obviously, we can get into maybe there's some of the reasons behind that, which are all down to him. But I think it's important to know that, this is a man who I think personally achieved as a batsman. I think he's actually better than his 40.02 average. Actually, when I saw he scored 10 Test centuries, I actually thought that he scored more than that in his career. And when I hear 10 Test centuries, so it's a bit of a tontus that 10 Test centuries. For some reason, I think of Paul Collingwood. So I actually looked at Paul Collingwood's stats. I thought they're quite similar. And Paul Collingwood played 68 Test matches, scored 4,259 runs, an average of 40.56 with 10 centuries. So very similar, actually, to a Faf Du Plessis. Now, granted, Paul Collingwood batted low down the order at times. Obviously, if you look at Faf Du Plessis stats, the majority of his runs, his big runs, are actually scored at 5 and 6. So he batted 56 times at number 5, averaged 42.47, his highest being 135 not out. He batted at 618 times, and averaged 43.82. But when he batted at 4, which I'd say the top 4 for me is where you get your gun players in any batting lineup, generally speaking, depending obviously the quality, but generally speaking, I think top 4 is where you're at. Looks for your gun players. He batted 23 times at number 4, and only averaged 31.36. That was propped up by the 199 last year against kind of a pretty mediocre Sri Lanka attack at home. And they batted three times. I haven't batted 3 actually since I think it was 2015 that I saw. Yeah, I thought it was actually sooner than that. But he hasn't since almost 5.5 years since batting number 3. He batted there 13 times and averaged 40.83 before he took captaincy. I just feel like Faf Du Plessis, he was actually. I think his ability was better than that. Obviously, he's plundering runs for Lancashire, and I felt that when he came onto the scene, obviously, I think everyone remembers his very good action in Adelaide, 110 of 300 odd balls. It's kind of laying down the marker for what could be a fantastic career. It didn't pan out that way on the field. That's the reality situation with bat in hand. So I think it's important to remember. I think from a cricketing perspective, I think South Africa are not losing that much. To be completely honest, I think that with such a plethora of riches waiting in the wings, with Reda Van Tonda, Keegan Peterson, you can even argue that Saraluia maybe there's a chance. But there's obviously up and coming batsmen there who can take the reins there in red ball cricket. I think you could say the top order is pretty stacked, and there's people that can step into the shoes of Faf. Maybe hopefully Temple will move up now and get a proper go at 4 or 5. I'd like to think so. Just guys, there's a couple of people in the street. I'm actually out doing this I just wanted to shoot this now quickly before I go to work. But if anyone wants to leave a comment, I'm happy to have a chat with you guys for a few minutes. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of point that out. I think that Faf Du Plessis, cricketing perspective, has done the right thing to retire with Test cricket. I feel like I said post-match show that I don't think that he should really be he should really be inside anymore. I think it's positive for South Africa to kind of move forward without him. I think there's a lot of scar tissue there from him, and obviously the last couple of years for sure. It's not been a great time for the South African Test team, and they need to move forward. And people at Faf Du Plessis are just kind of they're holding the side back. That's what I feel, and I'm really happy actually this has happened. From a purely cricketing perspective, I like Faf Du Plessis. I think he's a really good guy. I just don't think he's the right guy anymore. I don't think he should be taking the spot at top 6. That's what I think. If South Africa really have harbour ambitions to become number 1 side again, because they're quite far away from that. For what we've seen in the last 2 years. So yeah, I mean, I think the performances on his captaincy have been fairly mediocre, but he's had a lot to contend with. I touched upon it on CFM with regards to The transformation, obviously, questions are thrown up. For example, you look at Faf, Temba Vuma and Faf, and kind of there's always been a niggle there. You can see there's been a much major push towards transmissional targets, and that's absolutely understandable, and I'm totally on board with that. I'm just saying he's had to contend with that and the aggressive push towards, more the quotas that need to be adhered to. So that's an important thing, obviously, and he's managed that quite well, I think. I think also something that needs to be addressed is the callback situation and the fact that he's lost quality players through people saying callbacks. So you look at someone like Simon Harmer, Duane Olivia, and Kyle Abbott. Now these guys, especially with Abbott and Olivia, I think left quite gaping holes in the side, especially with Abbott. I mean, he actually said on his Instagram today, Faf Du Plessis, that if Kyle Abbott had stayed, then he would have played longer. I think that's really telling. That's really telling how hurt he was over, obviously, Kyle Abbott leaving. Don't forget as well, Riley Russo went callback as well. The likes of David Visser and Stephen Zale, no one cares. But, I think Harmer, Abbott, and Olivia, obviously, with 3 issues he had to contend with because he lost top-class players, especially, I really feel like Kyle Abbott would have gone to be a really, really good test bowler, as he's shown for Hampshire. And Olivia, yeah, I think jury's still a bit out, but Abbott performed for a longer time for the Proteas. So I think he actually gone to be a really good bowler. I think under Faf he would have done really well, but there's one to be. And I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that he had to kind of navigate himself around the whole cop-out situation as well. So a lot was happening off the field for him. I think in that respect, to maintain around a 40 average during his captaincy, it's obviously healthy, it's important, it's good for his own personal career. Like you could say, you look back and say, you know what, I still kind of maintain my batting standards. I just don't think his batting standards were that high, really. I think, said from outside's perspective, Faf Du Plessis was a good batsman, a good test batsman, but he never scared opposition. You never thought, okay, fast on the side. He looked as a big personality, obviously the captain side for some time, obviously. But I don't think anyone has really thought, okay, fast on the side. There's, you've got a real. It's not like a case, for example, if you're planning to face a Stephen Smith or Lob Scagney or a Joe Root now or a Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli. I think when you came up against Faf Du Plessis, you never thought, you never put in the same kind of bracket. He was vulnerable at times. So I think from that perspective, it needs to be kind of. I think we need to kind of address that and acknowledge the fact that I think Faf didn't really perform as well as he maybe could have with the bat. I think as a person in general, I think Faf Du Plessis seems a wonderful individual. I saw him a few months ago, I think during lockdown, doing a positive charity program. I think it was mentioned with Sia Khaleesi. And I think the fact that he showed he cares so much there, and he seemed to get it. I think he seemed to understand and get the fact of what it takes to be a captain of South Africa in those kind of those choppy waters, which he seems to navigate quite well. So and I remember him obviously 4 years ago leading that World 11 to Pakistan as well. The World 11 side and trying to reintegrate Pakistan cricket back in Pakistan, and he was at the forefront of that. The man has a huge heart, a lot of passion for the game in general. Obviously, if you've seen the interview he did with Ashwin, he talked about how the Proteas kept pulling him back to South Africa. Obviously, when he could have just sat on bigger and bigger contracts for Lancashire, maybe other county sides, and just play T20 cricket around the world. But he refused to do that when South Africa came calling. Even at the age of 27, 28, he went back. And and what was obviously was undeniable was his passion for the Proteas, and I think that is something that it kept burning inside of him even till his very last days as a Test cricketer for South Africa. I still think he has a lot to say in terms of the white ball sides. I think he'll still be a very, very important cog when it comes to the World Cup campaign this year and next year, I imagine, as well. But now he'll probably trot the world and play T20 cricket, which will obviously hone his game anyway, these next 2 World Cups. I do want to still see him play domestic cricket. I'd like him to play in the CSA T20 Challenge, but I think obviously the reason why he's not playing is obviously because he's been wrestling with the sort of time back and forth. And I think the problem was if he had played this tournament, it'd be completely overshadowed by Faf's involvement to the fact he's retiring Test cricket. And I think that's probably what he didn't want to happen. Again, always putting his country first. I think he's always done that. So I'll leave it on that, guys. Hope you like the content. As I say, do like, comment, subscribe. I've got to shoot off now. But yeah, just a quick thoughts on Faf Du Plessis. Great at the game. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say great at the game. I should say great South African legend. I should say South African legend. I won't say great at the game, but very much deserves his place as a worthy cricketer among South Africa's players of the recent past. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to shoot off now, guys. And hopefully see you on the next one. Cheers.